Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Moltzow, Chief Commercial Officer for Skyloom Global Corp. Thank you very much for hosting this panel and Rizwan for facilitating it for us. Skyloom predominantly focuses on the manufacturing and scalability of LEO, MEO, and GEO terminals, optical terminals, as well as optical ground stations. What makes us pretty unique this year, and we'll talk a little bit about this in the panel, is our ability to be able to scale production at very high volume and deliver on that and deliver on time, and also to drive the technology into the space of long range and high throughput, security, and so forth. And look forward to this panel and talking more about it.
You look back at your year at Skyloom, what were the major critical milestones you guys hit? I think I read about the delivery of terminals. Are those terminals in the sky yet? And then when do you anticipate those turning on, going through commissioning with your customer? And what does your year ahead look like?
Yeah, so I think a major accomplishment this year for Skyloom was delivering 88 terminals for the SDA Tranche 1 program, for integration onto York spacecraft, York Space Systems. And 42 of those were launched a few months ago. They're currently ongoing checkout. The whole system is, there's a number of payloads on that spacecraft, and not just the terminals themselves. So we're standing by to begin the on-orbit calibration and activities to commence connectivity in space. And so that's the current status. Of those 88 I mentioned, we launched 42 already, or at least SDA did, and we anticipate the remaining to be launched, in the coming months. For us, that accomplishment's a real manufacturing and supply chain proof point. This is just not a vision or an idea anymore. This is optical at scale. And we're pretty proud of that. I think it's a proud moment, not just for us, but for others that are doing the same thing in the industry, to be able to get to a point where we're scaling in large volume. Secondly to that, the other big accomplishment for Skyloom was the standing up of the Skyloom Europe brand. We have a really great partner in Europe, Officina Solari. We have made plans to move out and establishing a production facility in the Veneto region of Italy. It'll double the manufacturing space that we have in the U.S. And we're very excited about getting that on the road and starting that activity, and it's a very large accomplishment for us. There's several others, but I'll reserve the floor for some other questions and parties here.
Thanks. Eric, you mentioned earlier, or in past activities, you guys have a GEO project. You're very heavily involved in LEO now. Are you guys also looking at MEO? And as you kind of just look across all those three major orbit domains, where are you guys finding yourselves putting the most attention to? LEO's clearly adopting it now with some of the proliferated LEOs. How do you see the future for MEO spacecraft adoption, GEO spacecraft adoption for these optical terminals?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because a lot of the focus early on, right, has been on LEO. We're seeing a substantial upswing in demand in the MEO market as well as GEO, and it's not just government; it's also commercial. We do have a contract now with a government customer to build out a MEO terminal. Some of that's been extending to some commercial customers as well. They're showing demand. I really think that this build out of infrastructure of, LEO, MEO, GEO ground, it really is building up to, kind of what we enjoy here on Earth with terrestrial connectivity, and what the engineering did, decades ago, to get us to what we have today by having, the ability to be able to have switch routing and so forth, to be able to move traffic. And I think that is something well in our future, in our grasp in the near term, to see that, with mesh networking in space and so forth. and taking advantage of all orbital regimes, because LEO's great, but it's got some drawbacks that GEO brings in, and then GEO's got some drawbacks that LEO brings in, and MEO as well. So I think the ability to tie all those orbit regimes with the ground on a will give ubiquitous connectivity that we're all looking for the data and communication markets.
Thank you. From Peter for you, Eric. Does the structure of setting up your European operations allow you to go partake in the European government programs we've been hearing so much about in the news?
That's a very good question. One of the reasons why we drove the Skyloom Europe brand is we're seeing this huge demand upsurge in Europe, for optical links, driven by needs for security, high data rates, and higher data rates and so forth. So yes, the answer to that, and we are actively working with a number of different customers. Our team in Europe is, our Officina Stellare partner, to bring, our technology to those programs with the production of product, variety of our different terminals. As I mentioned, LEO, MEO, GEO in the Europe Production Center. So those would be made in Europe.
Thank you. That wraps it up for this panel. I want to thank our panelists for joining me here again this year. And back to Andy.